His question jogged the students' memories of the great tale of Lord Yemo, symbolizing boundless possibilities and potential. Upon hearing Nie Li's words, the students recalled the story of Lord Yemo. He was a commoner who had achieved extraordinary power. The flames of their spirits, nearly extinguished, were now reignited, momentarily forgetting the harsh words of teacher Shinshio that had previously saddened them. Shinshio still clung to her stance, despite the fact that Lord Yemo was once a commoner. Throughout Glory City's 100-year history, Lord Yemo was the sole individual who had reached the pinnacle solely through his own abilities. The arrogance and steadfastness in her voice reflected her unwillingness to face the undeniable truth. Nie Li smiled coldly because Shinshio had previously claimed it was impossible. His smile mirrored his astuteness and unwavering resolve, expressing his satisfaction in dismantling Shinshio's arguments. Nie Li realized that Lord Yemo was the prime example of a commoner who had reached the pinnacle. Regardless of one's background, every individual's potential is boundless. This realization flowed within him, emanating a strong conviction and inspiring those around him. Shinshio was on the verge of exploding. Her anger reached its peak as Nie Li continued to expose the weaknesses in her words and launch relentless attacks. Each of Nie Li's assaults felt like crippling blows. Shinshio felt as if she had been slapped in front of the many students watching. The surging sense of shame within her fueled her growing anger. Her rage blazed, radiating intense energy. Meanwhile, not far from Nie Li, Du Zhe looked at him with deep gratitude. Du Zhe's heart was filled with gratitude and admiration because Nie Li had dared to help the common people and give them a voice. He admired Nie Li's courage and honesty, qualities seldom found in other nobles. Nie Li even took the risk of provoking teacher Shinshio, an arrogant and haughty noble. Nie Li's bravery sparked awe and appreciation in Du Zhe's heart. He saw Nie Li not only as a friend but also as someone deserving of respect. Shinshio scoffed at Nie Li as a skilled and arrogant speaker. She felt humiliated because Nie Li had successfully exposed the weaknesses in her arguments. "Do you think by stating these things, you can change this harsh reality?" Shinshio said mockingly. Shinshio's face exuded disappointment and cynicism. She belittled all the glorious moments of Lord Yemo witnessed by Nie Li. In her disappointment, Shinshio questioned how many people had failed. Then, her eyes stared sharply at Nie Li, filled with the intention to fight back and prove her point. Shinshio's gaze fell upon the parchment paper in her hand, and a smirk played on her lips as she read the contents. The words revealed that Nie Li possessed a mere red soul realm, with a soul force of 5 and physical strength of 21. It was the perfect opportunity for Shinshio to humiliate him, as she took pleasure in taunting him about his limited potential. She declared that with his meager talent, Nie Li would only ever reach the fighter rank in his entire life, deeming his aspirations of becoming a demon spiritualist utterly impossible. As Shinshio's words reached the ears of the commoners, their attitude towards Nie Li began to shift. The once neutral gazes of the commoner students transformed into scornful looks, now aware of his supposedly poor talent. They assumed that Nie Li was attempting to mask his lack of aptitude by standing up for the commoners, disregarding the fact that even some commoners possessed greater potential than him. The change in perception was evident, and it left Nie Li feeling exposed and isolated. Yi Ziyan, observing the scene, cast a sympathetic glance towards Nie Li and let out a soft sigh. She couldn't help but feel sorry for him, having discovered his unfortunate talent. On the other hand, Xinyu, filled with disdain, curled his lips in contempt. Had he known about Nie Li's lackluster abilities earlier, he would not have considered him a threat in the first place, as he now believed Nie Li to be completely unqualified. Unrelenting, Shinshio continued her aggressive verbal assault, asserting that even within Nie Li's own family, he would be disregarded due to his abysmal talent. Her harsh words triggered memories of Nie Li's past. Prior to the destruction of Glory City, Nie Li had indeed been weak, receiving no attention either at the institute or from his own family. He was treated as though he were nothing more than dust, destined to be blown away by the wind. Oddly enough, instead of feeling ashamed and humiliated by Shinshio's words, a defiant spark ignited within Nie Li. He locked eyes with Shinshio and boldly proclaimed that one's soul realm did not determine their future. He accused her of having a despicable character, one that defended only the gifted while ridiculing the mediocre. Nie Li believed that she used lofty principles as a facade to conceal her true nature. Hearing Nie Li's audacious words, Xunxiu was consumed by fury. She had never encountered a student who dared to challenge her so fiercely. Losing control, she yelled, demanding his silence and questioning his audacity to discredit his own teacher. Nie Li, unfazed, curled his lips in disdain and expressed his shame in having a teacher like her. Furthermore, he confidently declared that among the commoners in their class, there would be individuals who would exceed her expectations and achieve unimaginable greatness. He accused her of unworthy discrimination and boldly stated that his weak talent meant nothing. He firmly believed that one day, he would become a legend-ranked demon spiritualist like Emo and marry the most beautiful woman in Glory City. As Nie Li's words echoed in the room, his gaze fell upon Yiziyun, who sat at a distance. Their eyes coincidentally locked, surprising her with his audacity. Although Yiziyun didn't harbor any romantic feelings for Nie Li, she couldn't help but feel a sense of embarrassment, her cheeks turning bright red. Observing her reaction, Xinyu's face turned cold, displaying displeasure towards Nie Li for openly targeting the girl he fancied. Despite the discrepancy in their abilities, Xinyu felt a slight threat from Nie Li. Xinxiu laughed mockingly in response to Nie Li's bold statements, deeming it the funniest joke she had ever heard. She found it absurd that someone with a red soul realm would dare to dream of becoming a legend-ranked demon spiritualist. In her eyes, it was a delusion, as even Lord Yemo possessed a cyan soul realm in his youth. With cruel sneers, she suggested that Nie Li focus on studying seriously instead of engaging in idle talk. The contempt in her heart was evident, and Nie Li had long been aware of it. He desired to silence her with irrefutable evidence. Nie Li resolutely declared that one's aptitude could not determine their achievements, as practitioners defied the natural order and overcame the strong with their own weaknesses. He emphasized the necessity of an unwavering fighting spirit, stating that even extraordinary talent would be useless without it. Finally, Nie Li proposed a bet to Xinxiu, challenging her to witness his progress. The room fell into a hushed silence as everyone, including Xinxiu, exchanged surprised glances. Intrigued, Xinxiu cautiously asked, "What kind of bet?" With unwavering confidence, Nie Li stated that he would achieve the formidable bronze rank as a demon spiritualist within a mere 2 months. The audacity of his declaration sent a wave of tension through the air. The stakes were high. Failure would result in Nie Li leaving the institute, while success would demand Xinxiu's resignation. The room remained in suspense as the weight of the challenge settled upon them all. Nobody expected Nie Li to challenge teacher Xinxiu in such a manner, especially considering his supposedly poor talent. Xinxiu laughed incredulously, ridiculing Nie Li's audacity. She found it absurd that someone with a red soul realm and a soul force of 5 would dare to claim he could raise it to 100 within 2 months. She questioned if Nie Li had lost his sanity. However, Nie Li ignored what Xinxiu had just said and said, "I only asked one question. Do you dare or not?" Xinxiu snorted angrily and stated that she agreed to the bet because she didn't believe an egotistic brat like Nie Li could accomplish anything. As a result of his disrespect towards his teacher, Nie Li was punished for the next 2 months by being made to stand at the back of the classroom. Before leaving, Nie Li warned Xinxiu not to regret her decision since she had agreed to the bet. Xinxiu laughed off Nie Li's words as a joke because she was confident that she would unquestionably win the bet. Upon seeing Nie Li standing at the back of the classroom, a few noble kids began whispering mockingly, commenting that a future legend-ranked demon spiritualist had been punished to stand. Nie Li simply listened silently, ignoring those who sneered at him. Duzhe fell into silence for a moment, not expecting that a noble like Nie Li would dare to speak up for the commoners. Unable to stay seated and do nothing after witnessing everything, Duzhe decided to rise from his seat and walk towards Nie Li's spot. As he arrived, he didn't utter a word and simply stood beside Nie Li. They exchanged smiles without uttering a single word, yet Nie Li understood Duzhe's intentions. Observing Duzhe standing by Nie Li's side, Xinxiu became displeased and instructed Duzhe to stand with Nie Li since he seemed to enjoy standing. Not long after Duzhe, Luo Pio walked towards the back of the classroom and stood beside Nie Li. Witnessing this, Nie Li smiled and asked, "Why are you here?" Luo Pio shrugged and stated that sitting was boring, and standing made him feel more relaxed. Nie Li chuckled at the far-fetched excuse and teasingly commented that it suited him. With his brothers by his side, Nie Li's spirits lifted, and he began anew from the lowest point in his life. One by one, the commoners became moved by Nie Li's actions and considered him a reliable person, pledging their support until the end. With his newfound companions, Nie Li no longer felt the punishment was so bad. Furthermore, his mood brightened as he looked at Xinxiu, as if silently conveying to her that she was not alone, as there were several students supporting him. Upon seeing this, Xinxiu's face turned ugly, and she continued with her lesson. Not long after, Xinxiu announced that the results of everyone's soul force test were out. Yi Ziyun had a Cyan soul realm with a soul force of 86, followed by Xinyu and Xiao Ning, both with green soul realms and a soul force of 78. Upon announcing these results, Xinxiu lightly stated that they were close to reaching 1-star bronze rank since they were just a few points away from a soul force of 100. As Xinxiu made this remark, her gaze briefly fell upon Nie Li, the audacious brat who had made a bet with her. In her mind, these were true talents, and she questioned Nie Li's worth in comparison to them. Meanwhile, Nie Li sensed a disdainful look directed at him from Xinxiu. Furthermore, the students in the class exclaimed in surprise after listening to Xinxiu's words. With such talent, they might have the chance to reach the legend rank within their lifetimes. After hearing the test results, Nie Li's gaze settled on Xiao Ning. His eyes grew heavy as he remembered that Xiao Ning was the first child of the Xiao family, or the Winged Dragon family. The Winged Dragon family was one of the 7 noble families in Glory City. Xiao Ning's appearance and talent were on par with Yi Ziyun, but she had suddenly disappeared from the institute in the past. Rumors circulated that she ventured into the ancestral mountain's Black Devil Forest and never returned. She had bravely ventured there to avoid a marriage alliance with the sacred family. In other words, Xiao Ning had become a victim of her family's political maneuvers, attempting to curry favor with the sacred family. Learning about Xiao Ning's past, Nie Li felt a pang of sympathy for her and vowed to help her if given the chance. Shaking himself from the deep memories of Xiao Ning's story, Nie Li refocused his attention. Shortly after, Xinxiu announced that the fighter and demon spiritualist tests would take place over the next 2 months. She expressed hope that a few 1-star bronze rank demon spiritualists would emerge, as it would make her and the Holy Orchid Institute proud. Upon hearing Xinxiu's announcement, Duze remarked to Nie Li that reaching the first level was incredibly challenging. Many people struggle to embark on the journey to become fighters or demon spiritualists. A person considered a 1-star bronze rank fighter needed to be capable of lifting 100-pound rocks and breaking a tree as thick as an arm with a single punch. Becoming a demon spiritualist was even more difficult, as success relied on one's soul realm. Soul realms were divided into 7 colors: red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, azure, and indigo. The average person typically had a red soul realm, while those with orange and yellow soul realms were better suited for training their soul force. Those with green or cyan soul realms were considered extraordinary talents. Meanwhile, all the students in the class gazed at Yi Ziyun, Xinyu, and Xiao Ning with jealousy. They had achieved 1-star bronze rank in less than 6 months, a feat that seemed unattainable for others. Upon achieving this rank, they would be eligible to enter the official fighter class or the demon spiritualist class. At the same time, Xinyu proudly puffed out his chest as many students looked at him and praised him. They believed that Xinyu, being from the sacred family, would undoubtedly reach a soul force level of 100 within 2 months, considering the numerous elixirs he had received since childhood. During that time, Xinyu gazed at Yi Ziyun with elegance. In his mind, he believed that he alone was worthy of her. In Xinyu's eyes, Nie Li was nothing but a red soul realm trash who dared to make such an arrogant statement. Meanwhile, Xinxiu directed her gaze towards Nie Li and expressed her desire to see if he could truly achieve the 1-star bronze rank within 2 months, as he claimed. Nie Li grinned confidently, assuring them that he still had plenty of time. According to conventional standards, it would take him at least 3 to 5 years to reach the 1-star bronze rank. However, with his past experiences and some special methods, he knew he could accomplish it in just 2 months. Nie Li and his brother stood waiting for Xinxiu's class to conclude. It was then that Luo Piao turned his attention to Nie Li and asked, "Nie Li, do you have feelings for Yi Ziyun?" Without hesitation, Nie Li raised his hand and replied, "Yes." Hearing this swift response, Luo Piao's mind seemed to freeze as he silently stared at Nie Li. Luo Piao could only sigh, realizing that Nie Li truly had feelings for Yi Ziyan, confirming his previous speculations. He admitted that Yi Ziyan was indeed a beautiful girl and did not deny it. However, as a brother, Luo Piao felt the need to caution Nie Li about Yi Ziyan's noble status, which surpassed that of common nobles. Suddenly, Du Zhe interrupted their conversation, urging them to be more realistic. He pointed out that Yi Ziyan was a super genius with a Saiyan soul realm, and with her talent, she would soon achieve the 1-star bronze rank as a demon spiritualist. Once that happened, she would enter the official demon spiritualist class, and her cultivation would undoubtedly soar. Moreover, Du Zhe expressed his disdain for nobles who only pursued romantic interests without putting in the effort to work hard and train. Luo Piao defended himself, raising his index finger and stating that he had always been diligent in his training, dedicating only half a day to thinking about girls. Du Zhe responded in disbelief, exclaiming, "Oh my goodness! What kind of people have I gotten involved with?" They continued arguing, while Nie Li simply listened. He saw their arguments as a sign of their healthy relationship and smiled at their closeness. Once their argument subsided, Du Zhe advised Nie Li to give up on pursuing Yi Ziyan and instead focus on his training. Du Zhe genuinely cared about Nie Li's well-being. However, Nie Li couldn't abandon his pursuit of Yi Ziyan. He assured Du Zhe that he understood his own limits and was not worried. Furthermore, Nie Li spoke with unwavering confidence, stating that he would accomplish the things he set out to do. Upon witnessing Nie Li's unwavering confidence, Du Zhe assured him that they would always support him, regardless of his decisions. With his brother's complete trust, Nie Li clenched his fists and made a promise to make Du Zhe and Luo Piao the strongest demon spiritualists. Upon hearing this, Luo Piao took a step back, urging Nie Li to forget about it. He realized that, with his red soul realm, becoming a demon spiritualist would be extremely difficult. However, becoming a fighter posed no problem since he had the support of his family's elixirs. At the same time, Du Zhe felt disappointed by Luo Piao's lack of ambition for his future. Du Zhe argued that becoming a fighter alone was not enough. The higher one climbed in rank, the more challenging the training became. Even on the battlefield, a legend rank fighter would be powerless against a black gold rank demon spiritualist. Luo Piao pondered for a moment and expressed his contentment with reaching the rank of a gold rank fighter. Du Zhe was left speechless and realized there was nothing more to say to someone without clear goals. Nie Li approached Luo Piao, placing a hand on his shoulder and said, "Red Soul Realm? So what?" Nie Li reminded him that he also had a Red Soul Realm, and there was no problem with that. Du Zhe, although aware of Nie Li's Red Soul Realm, was curious about his confidence in reaching the 1-star bronze rank in 2 months. He asked Nie Li about his method for refining soul force to raise his demon spiritualist level. Nie Li didn't provide a clear explanation of his method. Instead, he urged them to trust him and assured them that as long as they didn't back down, they would become powerful demon spiritualists. Upon learning that Nie Li had a special method, Du Zhe became excited and declared that he would never back down, seeing a glimmer of hope. He realized that he had a chance to become stronger and change his family's destiny. On the other hand, Luo Piao hesitated, concerned that the method might be too difficult, causing him to give up on becoming a demon spiritualist early on. Seeking reassurance, he asked Nie Li, "Will it be difficult?" Du Zhe grew annoyed with Luo Piao's lack of determination, considering his desire to become a demon spiritualist without putting in much effort. Seeing them argue once again, Nie Li quickly replied that it wouldn't be that hard. It would just require a significant amount of money. Luo Piao finally breathed a sigh of relief upon realizing that the method wasn't overly challenging. Besides, he wasn't too concerned about money since he had a considerable sum saved up, 2,000 demon spirit coins. As long as he could become a demon spiritualist, he was willing to spend it all. He then asked Nie Li how much more was needed. Nie Li felt helpless and shocked when Luo Piao considered 2,000 demon spirit coins a substantial amount. He replied that it wasn't enough, as they would need at least millions of demon spirit coins. Luo Piao was astonished, trying to imagine the staggering amount of money required. It far exceeded the amount he possessed. Nie Li continued, "Or even tens of millions of demon spirit coins." The idea of millions of demon spirit coins alone left Du Zhe in a state of serious shock, let alone tens of millions. It was as if his soul had already left his body.